Hello, Jennifer Heath here, Lyme warrior and activist with truthcures.org. Last week, a group of us went to Washington, D.C. We went to Capitol Hill and we had meetings with different members of the Senate Judiciary Committee, senators, and also on the House. We talked to them and we asked them if we showed them this Lyme crime, the biggest crime against humanity that happened here in my own home state in Dearborn, Michigan, that happened in 1994, where certain CDC officers decided to profit off of people's illnesses. They decided to profit off of them because in 1980, our government passed a Bayh-Dole Act where it allowed different government officials to actually own patents on their work. So these CDC cronies were like, oh, cool, we can make money. So what did they do? Vector-borne diseases, not many people know about them. So it's a great way to make money is because we could spin this disease, tell people that Lyme disease is actually a bacterial infection. When it's not a bacterial infection, it's actually a parasitic spirochete that sheds fungal antigens that shuts down your immune system. It's like taking bathroom scum and injecting it into your arm. It can kill you or it can make you deathly ill, immune suppress. Okay, so that's what these cronies were doing. So in 1994, while they already had test trials for this fake LymeRx vaccine going on, they decided to hold this conference here and invite different labs all over and tell them that, you know what, we've changed the case definition. Lyme is no longer just no longer neurological Lyme, which is relapsing fever that causes immune suppression. We're going to change the disease now is just really a bad knee and arthritis response, okay? So hypersensitive response, which would show up on that new test that they added in 1994 in Dearborn, Michigan, which is called the Alicia test. It's the first test that one must have done before they can rule that they have Lyme disease. So unless you are lucky, like I was lucky actually. I was part of the 15% that actually had an immune response to the spirochete, but 85% of the population does not. It shuts down your immune system. So when your immune system is shut down totally, you don't have an antibody response. Okay, so 85% of the people that actually have Lyme disease is not going to get tested. They're not going to know that they have Lyme disease, that they're not going to know that they have the spirochete in their body because of Dearborn, when the CDC officers changed the case definition and fraudulently changed the testing so they could sell their fake LymeRx vaccine to the world and say that it worked. Because when they started during the case trials, they had 2 case trials. During the case trials, people were coming and saying, oh, some people died, some people got deathly ill. And they were coming to the doctors and saying, I have this symptom, I have this and this going on. Well, you can't have those symptoms, sorry, because that's really Lyme disease, relapsing fever. So what they did with these people was they said, nope, there's no room on our sheets to say that's it. That's a whole different disease. Lyme is only a bad knee. So all those people that were getting deathly ill, they threw out, nope, you don't have Lyme disease. And they weren't even at that point they started using the Alicia test. That's why they started doing the Alicia test, is because if they used the 41KD, you know, they would have been like, oh, Lyme disease. But they couldn't do that. So they added the Alicia test in 1994, and then they also dumbed down the Western blot, where they said now you need 5 bands IgG positive, or you need 2 out of the 3 bands of IgM positive. Prior to 1994, the Western blot, you could do 41KD to show that you had flagellin, and then what they would do is another Western blot after you had after you did any treatments, and if you had current IgM, that means current infection, then you had, you know, more, it still was active in your body. But with this testing, how they dumbed it down, people aren't, you know, you have to have so many of these different bands instead of just one band, the 41KD. And by the way, Yale owns the patent for this fake LymeRx vaccine, and they also own the patent for the 41KD flagellin test that they never used. And they were also part of the monopoly that said that once LymeRx was on the market, that you only could send your blood to one of their 3 labs, Yale, L2 Diagnostic, Emugen, or Corixa. So those were the only 3 labs, and they actually broadcasted that those were the only labs that you could send your blood. And the reason why is they wanted to discover new vector-borne diseases make new testing kits for those and also vaccines for the future. So, you know, they're going to make a lot of money. Now, who is part of all of this? The CDC officers that did all this, they also started in 1990, the American Lyme Disease Foundation. Now, those people are behind a lot of it. They are a fake nonprofit that our government, our CDC, has actually given them money to spin the disease, which is funny, to the American public to tell them that Lyme is just a bacterial infection, when instead it's not. They know it's not. It's a parasitic spirochete that sheds fungal antigens that shut down your immune system. So latent viruses like Epstein-Barr viruses, which we all have, or any of the co-infections that you can get from getting a tick bite or bit by something, all of those diseases or viruses can run wild in your system because you don't even have an immune response anymore. So this disease has to get recognized. This crime has to get prosecuted. And we were told by Senator Sessions, the whistleblower, Kathleen Dixon, who blew the whistle for the fake LymeRix vaccine that ended up getting it pulled off the market because it was causing neurological Lyme disease and it wasn't working. It was making people sick. So, and you will hear that they pulled it off the market because there wasn't enough sales. That's so funny. And they got away with it. People think, oh yeah, there's not enough sales. Really? Okay. So they pulled it off the market because it was actually causing the illness. And FDA told them, you need to pull it off the market or we will. So that's how it got pulled off the market. Thanks to Kathleen Dixon, whistleblower, the fake LymeRix vaccine. So here we are now. It is years later. The CDC says that now Lyme disease is about 300,000 people a year in the United States alone are getting this disease. 300,000 with only the 15% accuracy of the testing that they're using means 85% more of that. So that means 2 million people a year in the US alone are getting this disease. And this disease is not just in the United States, it's actually worldwide, okay? So, and our CDC sets the standards for testing for this disease and for the whole world, and also the case definition. So our criminals at our CDC, the ones that are ALDF and part of the NIH and the FDA, that have sat on the panels and allowed this to happen, those people need to be prosecuted because they are not Americans. They did this to us, and now it's setting the precedents for the whole world. And so this has to stop. So contact your local elected officials. If you could call also Senator Grassley's office and tell him that, you know what, he's the Republican head of the Senate Judiciary Committee. If he just says, hey, he could call a hearing today. That's all he has to do. We sat with his office staff members, a medical doctor, an attorney, and another staff member, and they were blown away by this when we were telling them the crime. And we asked them, you know, will you actually get on board or can he hold a hearing? And they just said, well, it's above our pay grade. Well, of course it is. It's above a lot of people's pay grade. So, because this is a big crime. This crime is keeping people with Alzheimer's, cancer, ALS, lupus, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, dementia. Get the drift? Those are all spirochete. Those diseases all could be used, more than likely are from spirochetes that they can't get tested for. And since they can't get tested for it, and we don't really know, we're treating these people for all these other diseases when they actually have a spirochete in them, and we need testing for that, and then we need treatment for that, what the disease does. It causes immune suppression. Let's see, AIDS is an immune suppression disease. That's the only disease that's allowed to be immune suppressed. Lyme disease is not allowed to be immune suppressed. So people that, it mimics over 350 different diseases, and these people are going around and they are ill. And if they're lucky and they get tested, like I was, I had tested high on the antibody response, so I got 2 weeks of antibiotics. Lucky me. And I was left still bedridden. But you know what? I must be nuts now because, you know, 2 weeks of antibiotics will cure you, according to the CDC, because it's only a bacterial infection. And anything else after that is called post-treatment Lyme disease. That's what they call it, because they say you're cured, and now you just suffer from post-treatment Lyme disease if you still have lingering symptoms, which is a farce. So pick up the phone. We need your help. There was 8 of us that went. We went and talked to these people. We have a Dear Colleague letter getting ready to circulate in the House of Representatives. We're looking for somebody in the Senate. It would be nice the Senate Judiciary Committee to do it, but nobody has rose up. None of the senators have rose up. I was fortunate to talk to our Michigan Debbie Stabenow and also Gary Peters when I was in DC, and we shared the Lyme crime with them. They were like, wow, and that they were very interested because, as you know, if in Michigan ticks are really bad, well, they're bad everywhere actually, but Lyme disease is becoming prevalent here too. And they said that they would sign something. Well, I challenge you because we need a senator to actually start a Dear Colleague letter. So I challenge Debbie Stabenow and Gary Peters to rise up. If not, any of our senators, please do something. Start a Dear Colleague letter. We have it at truthcures.org. We can give you it. Look at the one that the House is circulating and get on board with us, because the longer you wait, more people are going to suffer and die. Because it used to be with Lyme disease, the #1 cause was like heart attack, you know, people would die from. Now it is suicide. Okay, suicide. It's like AIDS. AIDS went unrecognized and people were killing themselves. And people are committing suicide now because they are in so much pain. They're told that they're nuts after 2 weeks of antibiotics, and they're left to die. So be the hero. Make the phone calls that is going to be attached here. There's truthcures.org. You can also go to my blog, Jennifer Dar at wordpress.com, and the information is there. The draft of the Dear Colleague letter you can read, and you can also see all of the senators and congressmen that we contacted. They need to be contacted daily or at least once, and then maybe weekly. Call Senator Grassley's office and ask him when is he going to do his job, and actually throw a, he just needs to do it himself. He is the Republican leader there, and he can say, let's hold a hearing, let's call in an FDA official and ask them, how do they test for sensitivity and how is that testing done? Because guarantee you, they're going to look at this, they're going to tell how it's done, and nothing with this fraudulent testing, with the 2-tier testing that they have done at Dearborn, is going to cut it, because it doesn't work, and they even said it did. So pick up the phone, make your calls, be the hero for everybody out there that is suffering in silence. Thank you, and God bless.